Okay, hey everybody, happy Monday to you. Got a special fun one today. Gonna be doing Doctor Doom. Um, just gonna add this over to the page real quick so everybody can join in. Bear with me just a second. And there we go. Okay, now this one's gonna be fun. Hey Michael, how's it going, man? Um, gonna be you'll notice the Captain America bandage. Um, I was going through some boards today and one sliced my fingers open. But anyway, yeah, I figured I'd do something fun today, and I've been waiting on this one for a while because I wanted to do it a heavy justice for respect for the character and make sure it happened nice like it was supposed to, and do all the cool stuff that was supposed to go down with it, and all the tech specs for the face that are done these days because um, circa 1980, I want to say 89 or right around in there, 1990, right around in there. Dr. Doom had the old shell face. I mean, it was very simple. Um, it was still always grimacing, but it was very, very simple. And the movement of the mask was very restricted. And now it's a little more organic where it has these tines on the upper mask and the lip stays stationary, but the jaw moves a little bit behind the mask as well. And it's on out there, man. It's high tech, high tech. Um, and it's getting more and more so every day, like it's a cybernetic piece rather than an armor plate, as it used to be. And then you could go always, you always could go Fox style and go organic metal. Um, that was an interesting approach. I enjoyed the Doom from the original 2005 and 2007 Fantastic Four films. I like those movies. A lot of people don't. And I even mildly liked the Fox remake, the reboot Fantastic Four. However, it wasn't the Fantastic Four that I knew. And I don't consider it, like I said many times in multiple podcasts that I've been on, that I just don't I don't dig the that incarnation of Fantastic Four as Fantastic Four. I'm pretty sure that's unfortunately where they're going to go with it for a little while because they can't keep rebooting it. It's just not going to work. It's going to be weird if they keep doing that. But they've got to find a voice for it and do something unique instead of just trying to throw stuff at it. If they get actual comic writers in there, I bet you they can make a movie out of it and make it a really good deal. But they're going to need a heck of a director. Those films just don't translate well, in that high intensity regard. And they need to get down to earth with the villains that are going on and don't go such large scale that they either overwork the platform of what they have, which was done with Doctor Doom in the reboot, and totally choked out on the opportunity in the Rise of the Silver Surfer. Man, they totally blew that with the Cloud issue over Galactus. They could have made that so good, but they choked. But anyway, well, we'll see what happens because they're talking about having another one. Yes, they are. Fox has been mentioning a new undisclosed Fantastic Four film in their lineup for a while now, and they've been talking about a sequel to the new one. So I was just like, whatever. But it came out interesting, and we'll see where they go with it. But comics are so up in the air right now, you really can't even tell. DC's getting their universe together, and of course, Disney is tearing it up with the Marvel universe all the time. I haven't had one of those films that I didn't like yet, except for Age of Ultron, which was, a little redundant in the way that they could have done that film just a little bit better. But I think that they made the scale of the story too large for what they did. And all the minion Ultrons running around and stuff, yeah, got a little busy. But I'm still a fan. I still have it on DVD, and I still watch it periodically. So go figure. But anyway, got this whole Kickstarter thing going on. Noel, Kathleen, you guys made it. I didn't think you were going to. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. Gio, hey man, appreciate it. They've got I got this whole storm thing coming on the last couple of days, and finally got it to where Facebook has calmed down since the rain stopped. And it was just, it was just a nasty little electrical storm. It really didn't hurt anything as much as ruined and slowed down their updates for the cable and internet services. They were doing a lot of work at the new boxes and substations and stuff, and they bogged down a little bit due to work and the workload, and it got a little weird there for a little bit. I was just like, what are you guys doing back there? So they don't actually come onto the property or anything here. They have them at substations in the corners of the block and stuff that they work on. And I was waiting for them to get that all fixed and updated the other day. And they messed around and did those change outs on my Galactus, so it made it fuzzy and pixelated, and just, I was like, what are you guys doing? You told me you weren't going to do this today. But we got a good video out of it, so I'm all right with it. But, after this weekend, I just wanted to do something. It was such a heavy work week last week. I was just trying to get everything going, and wanted to do something light and fun. So I did a Fraggle yesterday, which came out really cool. I love those characters. If you don't know what Fraggle Rock is, you can Google it or YouTube it and see for yourself. It was an awesome series in the early 80s, and it was fun, man. It was fun. Doing a lot of work on the blog, getting a bunch of stuff set up, and just about there with that. I have another day or so on it before all the heavy duty work comes out. And I finally got approved for the Kickstarter, which they've made some changes in Kickstarter and Indiegogo. Watch out. Just wanted to tell everybody, I've been hearing a lot of rumors here lately with people having payment issues for Kickstarter and stuff. Watch out, because Kickstarter and Indiegogo both have changed their payment policies. And be sure and read all those details before you get into that, because you could get stuck to where you don't have a payment processor. I'm just saying. I have a certified, verified business account, and I have a couple of merchant accounts, so I don't have to worry about that are attached to various bank accounts and secure systems. But I like to tell everybody, if you're going to do comics, via marketing, via whatever branch you're working out of, be sure and pay attention to that, because read those terms and services and policies, because they are changing them on those platforms and locking a bunch of people out of getting their funds now because of the fact that they're jacking around with them. So do due diligence and read that fine print, because it'll bite you in the butt. And that's a technical term, by the way. But it will get you. I just wanted to give you guys a heads up, because I know a few people that are suffering from that, and it's stupid, but it is what it is. Unfortunately, they have that going on, and it's their right to change those policies. And if they do it mid campaign, you're going to burn, because you won't be able to get your money out until you get all that approved, and that's going to slow you down, and that's going to block your creativity and block your campaign and all that. Be sure and pay close attention to that stuff, because it will come back on you. I had a really, really good friend get stuck on one of his campaigns that he just got funded, and they choked it out because of the fact that I won't say who it is, but they choked out his account and, you know, gave him some grief about it. And I mean, it's a policy change, but they still should have notified him, and they should have notified everybody and made it public information, because it wasn't. And since I have accounts on both of those platforms, it makes it really hard for them to say, well, no, we sent it out, because I get the emails regularly, and it wasn't notified. It was not a public change. It was, well, you're supposed to read the terms of service and you're supposed to read the fine print on this stuff. Well, you can't do that if your campaign's already halfway underway. You know what I mean? They need to respect that fact and keep people in the loop for campaigns that are solid that way. And the friend of mine that did it, I mean, man, that was just, I felt bad for him because of that happening, but, you know, hopefully they'll get it all worked out. But I totally disagree with the way that the company is handling it. And I say shame on you for that. You know, you should inform your customers. But Indiegogo and Kickstarter, read those terms of service before you get tied up in those, because you'll get your book strapped down for about a month if you get stuck, you know, because they have up to 30 days to correct it. So you absolutely do not want to get trapped on that. And go from there. So that's my 2 cents on that one. Alfred, Kevin, thank you guys for coming on. I appreciate it. Kevin said on his like button. I appreciate it, buddy. Yeah, I was going to tell you guys too. I am doing the Boba Fett tomorrow officially. I will be having an early set for that. It is ready to go. It's off to the side over here, which I will not show yet. But I am going to be doing a special session for Kevin's Boba Fett Friday, since I got so far behind on those, and I want to get that drawn up for him and sent out to him, because at this point it's going to be a Christmas present. But my apologies for that. It's just one of those things. Let's see here. I'm going to start detailing this out a little bit. And if you guys hear the heavy tools or machinery going on, my neighbor's renovating, and they have some big power tools out there working on the paneling and stuff for the house. So if you happen to pick that up and hear that in this video, that's why. So you know, it's not a war zone, and you're not delusional, at least not yet. If you're hearing power tools, it's probably my neighbor, not you. But you still might want to have that checked if it's bothering you on a frequency, you know, of any kind of substantial time frame. So just FYI, pay attention to that one on your own. I hear tools. You might want to get that checked out. But yeah, just saying. Yeah, I went there. I'm sorry, I went there. It's that kind of deal. I'm out of the heavy work zone and back into my my groove with things. So yeah, you're gonna have a lot more joking, and hopefully you like hearing it, because if not, I'm gonna drive you bonkers. But that's okay. It'll be a short-lived trip, because we're in a car with no brakes. Because I'm not stopping. But anyway, all joking aside, I had a young man that is 23 years old, which I will not name. I discussed it with him, and I told him I asked him if it was all right. He said, sure. He said, I'm kind of bummed that I didn't know who it was. I asked him if it was okay if I shared this story, and he said, yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you real quick. Isn't that cool? Are you surprised? But anyway, here we go. Whenever I laid out the sketch for this thing and shared it with everybody, this guy ended up not knowing who Dr. Doom was, and actually thought it was Hobgoblin from Spider-Man. And you know, because he couldn't see the detail in the grill and whatnot, he just saw the hood and the ugly face and assumed that it was a variation of maybe an armored Hobgoblin. And I had to explain to him very quickly that, first off, I was very sad for him because he didn't know who Dr. Doom was at all. So if you're a parent and you're watching this right now, please do the world a favor. Teach your kids common pop culture. You know, comics have been around for a long time, especially this guy. He's been around since the 60s. Come on. You know, do the industry some help and do it a courtesy and do yourself a respect position step forward, a respectable standard. Let's rephrase it to a respectable standard in not losing your geek card or your nerd card, depending on what you call yourself, because it's our responsibility to keep these things alive. And that was hilarious to me, that someone 23 years old did not know who Dr. Doom was. And I mean, he didn't know at all. And I mean, he hadn't even seen the movies from, the original Fantastic Four attempts at 2005 and 2007. He didn't know that that's the character that was involved because he wasn't interested in comics, because no one was there to introduce him to the pop culture that comics are. However, he knows exactly who the Walking Dead are, but yet not knowing the predecessor of the Walking Dead, and comics like other comics that were inspired, by these characters, I have a big problem with that. That's part of why comics are dying. People don't discuss them anymore. People don't resonate with them anymore, and they don't build on them anymore. And if you're in the comic industry, you have a responsibility to spread the word. I mean, it's like, and I'm not saying they're godlike or anything, but what I'm saying is, it's like a preacher in the church. You have a right to and an obligation to spread the word. And if you don't, the industry's going to die because we don't have advertising on commercials and things like that as standard. Films do, but comics don't. The film adaptations are like, well, November so-and-so, the Justice League's coming. Well, guess what? We don't have that same advertising skill and outlet that they have. So we have to adapt. That was part of the reason that Stan Lee always said, that he was such a huckster. And the reason was because he had to. He had to hustle to sell the books that he was putting out. And we have basically a mantle to pick up and keep going with that to keep these alive. So, everybody's like, well, I'm a comics fan, but I don't want to tell everybody because I'm kind of scared about being ridiculed. Well, don't be a chicken. Hold up to what you do. If you're a comic fan, own it. Because geeks rule the world right now. It's our time. And, I'm not as geeky as most people, but, I'm not a troll hiding under a bridge, as people stereotype. I'm just a normal guy, and I like comic books just as much as I like sports or anything else. Which I'm not too much into basketball. I am okay with baseball. The Astros did pretty good here recently, but I'm more of a hockey fan myself. But that's my choice: soccer and hockey, European football, things like that. But whatever, to each their own. I'm a UFC and MMA fan as well because of law enforcement and martial arts backgrounds. But, it is what it is. I like comics. I like the comics. I like the comics. And I also dig on, other nerdy stuff like marketing and things like that because I'm all about reading and doing and applying and being the goofball up on stage going, hey, how you doing? Let's try some stuff today. I really like doing that a lot. But bottom line, spread the word, Get out there, talk about comics. Draw something, surprise somebody. But for Pete's sake, don't let another 22-year-old, 23-year-old kid make it past 20 years old without knowing at least the basics. You're scaring me. I'm losing hope, people. I'm losing hope. So, but yeah, this is one of my characters that this is one of the characters that is in my arsenal that I really love drawing. But like I said, I don't draw him for the public very much because of the fact that I want to keep it very simple and clean most of the time. And I get overzealous with this one, and I build him out and build him out and build him out, which is what I'm trying not to do right now. That's why I'm taking the time with it and hanging out with you guys for a few minutes, making this really quick. And I'm going to do a couple of light shades here and there on this hood, and then I'm going to leave it alone. Because I don't want to make him look freaky. I want him to continue to look cool. Now, one thing I didn't do is go right under here, under the eyes, and put the thick, dark line right underneath the edge of that. Just go crazy with it. Go right up on that bottom edge of this eye guard and put you a good, thick, black line on there. And it adds a whole nother level to the depth of the face. Just boom. Now leave the nose and stuff alone. Don't go Batman style and, crop under here or whatever and all that, because this is metal. Okay, so leave that alone. But go right underneath there with Dr. Doom. One of the prominent things is, one, to get the hood right, but two, specifically, boom, get those eyes right. Because if you do, you got it nailed. And he comes right off the page for you. So that was one thing I mastered a long time ago. And I believe I want to say it was Bart Sears that told me not to do that. He said not to go detailing the metal too much. And he said what you need to do is you need to go in and make a prominent line and make a prominent shade that makes him pop out. And once you have that line set, then you can make all the rest of it pop out with the residual shading that you need later. And then he told me my artwork sucked and I needed to keep working on it. And I was like, oh, man. But yeah. But that was one takeaway I definitely got, and put that into practice and play for a lot of years. He's an awesome guy, too. He knows his stuff. I almost went to work with them, with him and Mark Wade out in Florida for CrossGen. I was going to be one of the guys out there, and I had to turn it down due to family stuff. In the early 2000s, I almost made it. I did get the offer, but I had to step out. It would have been a whole totally different world if I'd have taken that position, though, because there's no telling where my comics would be right now, and I probably would have had a different family outcome as well. So I am fine with that. I made that choice and I owned it. And instead I created Catman Evolution and Firestorm Comics. And here we are today, about to have 7 books come out. Not just 1, but 7. So I'm very pleased with that. You guys would not be talking to me today if I had done that. At least not here for these and for this upcoming book. And imagine the marketing loss you would have had. Okay, I'm going to leave that alone, and I'm going to stop picking at it here. I'm going to go one shadow down here on the chest. Kind of open this up a little bit because it needs something. It's a little wide right now. Now I'm going to leave this open for the metal, I don't know what you would call these, the braces, I guess, whatever you want to call them, these discs that he always has right here. I'm going to leave these open because I want to color them in and tone them to be metal. I don't want to go as far as doing the dull, hard lines like I did there. I'm going to leave the rims because these were always shiny. So I'm going to leave those alone. But this has the dark, cast iron look to it rather than just, chromed or shiny or anything like that. I like the dark metal die cast look. I like him to have that blue steel look that he has sometimes. And I'm going to put a minor shadow right underneath here for this jaw plate, or cheek plate actually, but I'm not going to go too far with it because I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to overwork it. I'm going to add in a shadow right here because I've decided I'm going to go with that blue steel look. So he's got a lot more shadow going on. But we will leave that there. Now, I'm just going to thicken up underneath this bracket a little bit because this is bolted and it's higher than the cheek plate. So I'm going to, because it's raised to protect his eyes. So I'm going to shade that down a little bit and put an edge on there. And now I'm going to shade this in just a little to block these out. Make everything pop up a little. Give it some depth down in there for his voice box. And we have Dr. Doom. I hope you guys are digging this thing. I'm going to read some of these comments real quick. How do you know not? How do you know who not know who Dr. Doom is, Kevin? Well, that would come from parental exposure or lack thereof to the culture itself, because so many people have looked at, from religious standards, these are false gods in some ways. I'm still here, by the way. It's one of those things where they look at, false gods' positions in religious things. These are false idols that people are worshiping in pop culture. They get a lot of flack because of that, which I think that's just ridiculous. I'm a very religious person, but I find that ridiculous when people say, you can't have fun and like fictional characters. How strong is your faith in that regard? You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong with that. Nothing personal as judgment-wise, but don't get bent about liking something fictional because you're afraid that it's going to impede on your spiritual beliefs. That's just, to me, that's ludicrous. But, for a personal standpoint. But if that's your thing, that's fine. I understand that. That's one position people take, and I'm okay with that if that's their choice. But then number two is, if you're going to come into this, it's a lack of modern culture. It's the minimalist movement of what the millennials live by now, which is, it's gone back from the 1950s where everything was minimalistic. And then in the late 50s, everything came out with new technology. The microwave came out, the blender came out, and the television came out, into the every house home type of rank. That's a big difference as to why that problem is there as well. So, it's a minimalist movement that came around from the Depression days, and then in the 1950s, it flew off the handle and everything boomed up until the 80s. And now everybody's getting back to that non-materialistic minimal thing, and they're not collecting comics in the same way, which digital comics are coming up, and that's going to be a big plus for the digital comics age, where everybody's afraid, nobody's collecting comic books anymore. No. I got people all the time asking me for digital copies and stuff. I sell them every day. But, that's how you can know not who Dr. Doom isn't, or not know who Dr. Doom is, because of the fact that, different cultural things, religious standards, just pop culture not being shared the way it needs to. We need to talk more and worry about less of this social drama in politics and other things, which, granted, that has a place and needs to be addressed, but it doesn't need to fill up the social media to where we can't talk about other stuff, aka pop culture. This is just as big a part of the American background as it is in anything else. Sports, politics, any of it. We just need to spread the word more. That's pretty much where it's at right there. That answers that question. Um, like Alfred said, that's why my 5-year-old and 6-year-old know what superheroes are and what video games are. And um, the Xbox One just hit the stands here pretty quick for Christmas coming up, for the holiday season. And we got Thanksgiving, we got Halloween coming up, then we got Thanksgiving and Christmas here in the States. If that's where you're watching from, you know about that. But if you're watching for somewhere else, that's the major 3 holidays of the year for us. And then we have New Year after the first of the year. And those are the big major holidays. And then we have the religious holidays, of course, like Easter and things like that. But for the most part, we need to start thinking about this and get notification out there in the world and say, support these characters, because Disney is strategically breaking them down. I don't care what anybody else says. Disney, I am a marketing analysis specialist in part of what I do. And I'm telling you flat out, Disney is dismantling Marvel for property lineups, period. In the next 5 to 6 years, it will be nothing but digital platform or non-existence, because it'll either be the digital platform, which is movies, games, and cartoons, and it'll all be CGI, and it'll be the kiddie type stuff, the little floppy kid books kind of thing, like they used to do golden books, or you'll have the CGI stuff for comics and cartoons and animated stuff, which I don't see comic books staying in the mainstream existence in Marvel the way they used to. They've broken the properties down so bad, I don't think that they're going to hold up. I don't think that they'll go away, but at least for the next 5 or 6 years till they decide they messed up and put it back, they're really going to have a big movement on their hands for going another direction. I see it all the time. And, digital's been around, ebooks, comic books, virtual books, all that good stuff. Digital material has been around for the last 10 years solid. And, everybody's like, everybody's going digital, I'm scared. Well, that's the same thing, that par for course with the pop culture thing of not knowing who these characters are. It's because people have stopped producing. It's too expensive to print in most cases, and too non-eco-friendly to print anymore. But yet now they want to come off and say, well, digital is wrong. It's not print. It's not print versus digital. It's print and digital. So we're making that evolutionary change as well. So, you're going to see a bunch of that stuff change. But as far as this goes with pop culture, jump in and tell everybody, hey, this is my favorite superhero. What do you think? I mean, I had one year. I was sitting in the doctor's office waiting to have blood work done one time, and it's in the same lobby area right next door to the blood bank and the lab system, which was right next door. Because you go to the left and there's my doctor's office. You go to the right and there's the lab, because it's in a hospital. And I actually had a girl tell a guy, she walked over and was hitting on him, and she was flirting with him and watching TV, and they had a TV in the show in the lobby, and I think it was Supernatural that was on, and she thought that was a hot show and whatnot. And then when she found out it was based in the comic universe and going like the way of Buffy and the way of Angel and those other other inspired type of books going into a comic format with a lot of Josh Whedon type stuff, Supernatural's been leaning that way for a while. And the girl goes, well, I love the show, it's great. And this kid with a just excited, goofy smile on his face, and thought, yeah, I'm getting somewhere, this is a cool conversation, a girl that's interested. And he says, yeah, Supernatural, I hear that they're changing Supernatural into a spin-off comic book series in the next year or two, which they did. It's in a comic book now, and they have side stories for it. And she looks at him with the straightest, coldest face and goes, how gay is that? And I was like, wow. One, you're going to make, socially improper sexual preference references as a slam towards this guy. And then on top of that, you're slamming him directly. And I was like, what's wrong with people these days? Younger people just don't get it. One, you shouldn't say that as a slam. Two, you shouldn't slam somebody for having an interest in something that you didn't get or didn't understand or that you just didn't resonate with. That's part of why we don't have pop culture understanding that we used to have. Because in the 80s, everybody knew who comics were. The 70s, everybody knew who comics were, the characters and stuff. And then in the 90s with the reboom and the market craze, everybody knew who comic characters were. Now, nobody knows who comic characters are because they're being strategically broken down systematically through corporations absorbing them for IP properties, which is intellectual properties, by the way, which is a double way of saying it. But, you know, that's where we're at. We got to move forward. So tell everybody you're a comic geek and you're proud of it, and go buy a comic book and support somebody, or go online and, you know, support somebody's Kickstarter or something. And community over competition, I say, help the culture. But anyway, I'm going to shut up now. This is it for today. I will see you guys tomorrow. I have another card coming up, which I'm not going to reveal who that is yet. But then also I have another day session, which will probably be before the card session. It'll be in the earlier part of the day as far as I'm planning right now, which will be Kevin West Boba Fett picture for his Friday add-on, for the Friday character drawing that he got with his Electra. I'm doing it for a favor because I know this guy, and he's awesome, and his cards are great, and he's a good friend, and I decided to, you know, he's a Boba Fett friend and fan as well, so I was just like, hey, cool, we'll nail it, man. But anyway, you guys, check you tomorrow. Take care. Be good to each other. Be nice. Hey, Dirk, nice that you made it, man. Thank you very much. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Take care, kids.